I can see this workshop as one of the initial steps to involve and start the discussion with indigenous peoples in climate intervention research processes. Indigenous peoples are in forefront of climate impacts. We need to secure indigenous peoples and other marginalized peoples' voice in the dialogue, especially when many of these tipping points areas apply to indigenous peoples' homelands. We need to ensure indigenous people's self-determination to our lands and waters and build trust when researching climate interventions. Thank you.
This is that we are not currently on track for something like 4 or 5 degrees Celsius of warming, which is what we thought we might be experiencing earlier, like 10 years ago. That's kind of where I thought we were heading. Right now, if you look at what governments have already done, we're more on track for 2.5, 3 degrees Celsius of warming. So that's the good news. The bad news is that we are on track for 2.5 to 3 degrees Celsius of warming, and that is really bad. It is not apocalyptic, but that is not the bar. We want the bar to be a much safer climate for all of us. So.
As climate scientists, we often tend to run our models, do the research, back it with theories, and then come out with our presentations. So now we are rethinking these things, where we are doing a lot of co-production of the scientific knowledge, and I think that is where our indigenous communities can have a fantastic role to play in it, because I was saying earlier that if we want a holistic approach to these solar climate interventions, then our indigenous communities have an essential role to play, because they have years of knowledge, untapped knowledge, that we scientists have to engage them. And I think that is what is going to help shape how we adapt to these in the future if we have to make a decision.
To start with that, the invitation now to the room, we should be in the governing bodies. If we are in the governing bodies, we must not be used as alibis, because that also happens all too often. When you have an indigenous person in a board, then you have an alibi and can say that the indigenous peoples are included, we are doing things right, when that's not the case at all, very often not the case at all. Capacity building and resources for indigenous peoples, that is also key, because we won't be able to build our own knowledge and capacity how to work with you guys if we don't have that base. So small steps, but many steps all at once, then we can move forward. So funding for our capacity building, that's step one. And then when we have the capacity building, of course, we must also discuss and understand these things, and then you have to wait for the free and prior and informed consent. That's also a key in this. To collaborate and try to take indigenous people's knowledge into the Western science world, it's very hard work. It's like taking this big ball of holistic knowledge and pieces of knowledge and put it into a tiny square hole. So you have to be ready to do the work also.
And I'm so proud that we're discussing a topic like this here in the permanent mission of Finland to the UN. Events like these are really important, that we get to know each other. And I hope that this continues. So of course you have a lot of Sámi representatives here today, but of course we are not the only indigenous people that is impacted by climate intervention research around the world. And I know there are some good examples where indigenous scientists are involved, but in the Arctic, of course, there are also other indigenous peoples like the Inuit and many indigenous peoples on the Russian side. So, any research or experiments or so on that happen need to involve all of us.